For 80 years, she has rested in the cold, dark depths of Mobile Bay, Alabama. A titanium giant that witnessed the fury of World War II, a ship that survived countless battles, countless storms, and countless attempts to destroy her. But in late 2024, when a team of underwater archaeologists deployed advanced AI-powered drones equipped with 3D scanning technology, they made a discovery that has left historians absolutely speechless. They found that the USS Alabama, the legendary battleship that carried the hopes of an entire nation, was harboring secrets that nobody ever knew existed. Secrets hidden inside her steel hull for more than 8 decades. Secrets that fundamentally challenge everything we thought we knew about this ship's history. What exactly is hidden in the depths of the Alabama? And why have governments kept this information from the public for so long? This is the untold story of the USS Alabama, the truth that was buried beneath the waves. When the USS Alabama was commissioned on August 16, 1942, she was more than just a warship. She was a statement of American industrial might and technological superiority. Built at the Norfolk Navy Yard in Portsmouth, Virginia, she represented the cutting edge of naval engineering. At 35,000 tons and stretching 680 feet in length, she was one of the largest and most heavily armed battleships ever constructed. The Alabama belonged to the South Dakota class of fast battleships, the fourth and final member of this elite group. She was equipped with 9 16-inch guns capable of firing projectiles weighing nearly a ton. Her secondary armament included 25-inch guns, along with an array of smaller caliber weapons designed for anti-aircraft defense. But it wasn't just her weapons that made her special. The USS Alabama earned a nickname among her crew that would stick with her throughout her entire service record, the Lucky Eight, and this nickname was not just empty sentiment. During her 37 months of active service, the Alabama participated in 9 major battles across the Pacific. She engaged Japanese forces at the Gilbert Islands, the Marshall Islands, the Philippine Sea, Leyte Gulf, and off the coast of Okinawa itself. Yet despite all this combat, despite being fired upon by Japanese artillery, attacked by enemy aircraft, and even nearly struck by a kamikaze plane, the USS Alabama never lost a single crewman to enemy fire, not one. In an entire war, across dozens of engagements, with thousands of rounds of ammunition exchanged, her crew suffered 0 combat-related fatalities. That kind of luck doesn't happen by accident. Historians have always attributed the Alabama's remarkable survival rate to superior armor plating, exceptional crew training, and superior tactics. But what if there was something else, something technological that gave the Alabama an edge that no other battleship possessed? Something so significant that it had to be hidden from public knowledge? That's exactly what the recent underwater scanning has revealed. To understand what the drones discovered, we need to understand something that has puzzled naval historians for decades. After the war ended in 1945, the USS Alabama continued to serve until 1962, when she was decommissioned and sent to the reserves. For 2 years, she lay dormant, abandoned, a relic of a conflict that America was trying to forget. Then in 1964, something unusual happened. Instead of being scrapped for metal like most other battleships, the Alabama was sent to Mobile, Alabama, and converted into a museum ship. This decision was remarkable. Most decommissioned warships were dismantled, their steel recycled for new construction. But the Alabama was preserved, kept intact, protected. Why? The official story is that a grassroots fundraising campaign saved the ship. Local citizens in Mobile raised money to prevent her destruction. It's a touching narrative, and it's partially true. But naval archivists and military historians have long suspected there was more to the story. Why would the military expend so much effort to keep this particular ship intact when they were scrapping dozens of others? Some theorized that the Alabama had special significance for training purposes. Others suggested the military wanted to preserve an example of American naval engineering. But none of these explanations felt complete. There was a hole in the official narrative, a gap that couldn't quite be filled. In 1965, the USS Alabama battleship Memorial Park opened to the public in Mobile. Thousands of visitors walked her decks, toured her gun turrets, and learned her history. But there was one section of the ship that remained off-limits to the public. Deep below the main decks, in the engineering compartments, certain areas were cordoned off with heavy chains and warning signs. The official explanation was maintenance and safety. Those areas were simply too dangerous for civilians to explore. The equipment was fragile. The spaces were cramped. There was a risk of injury. But that explanation never sat right with people who studied the ship in detail, because those compartments weren't areas where the public needed access. Naval museums typically allowed tourists to see the fighting stations, the bridge, the crew quarters. The deep compartments that were sealed off served no purpose in a museum context. Closing them made no sense unless there was something down there that authorities didn't want people to see. For 60 years, the USS Alabama sat in Mobile Bay, inaccessible to serious inspection. But in 2024, maritime archaeologists from the Naval History and Heritage Command made an unprecedented decision. They would conduct a complete underwater scan of the Alabama's hull using advanced technology that didn't even exist when the ship was built. The technology they deployed was revolutionary. Autonomous underwater drones equipped with artificial intelligence-driven sonar systems, 3D laser scanning technology, and high-resolution digital cameras capable of capturing millimeter precision detail. These drones could work in near-total darkness, at depths where human divers could not safely operate, and could transmit live video feeds to a surface research vessel in real time. The scanning began in July 2024 and continued for 6 weeks. 3 drones worked around the clock, methodically mapping every square inch of the Alabama's hull, both the visible sections and, more importantly, the sections that had been submerged and inaccessible for 8 decades. What the scanning revealed was shocking. Along the starboard side of the hull, running from the waterline down approximately 40 feet into the depths, was a series of metallic protrusions that had no business being on a battleship. They were geometric in design, carefully positioned, and clearly installed as intentional features rather than combat damage or accident. The scan also revealed something even more extraordinary. Inside the sealed compartments, the ones that had been kept off-limits to the public for 6 decades, the technology detected significant modifications to the ship's internal structure. Equipment that was never mentioned in any official Navy documentation. Wiring systems that served no purpose related to the ship's combat capabilities, and something else. Something that made the AI system flag the data as potentially significant. The drones had detected what appeared to be a sealed chamber, built into the hull beneath the main armor plating, accessible only from inside the ship. A chamber that had no listing on any official plans of the Alabama. When the data was analyzed by teams of naval engineers and military historians, the implications became clear. The USS Alabama had been modified. Not by the Navy in 1942 or 1943, these modifications had been done much later, sometime between 1960 and 1962, just before the ship was sent to become a museum. Why would the Navy modify a decommissioned ship? Why would they add equipment that served no military purpose? And why would all documentation of these modifications be classified and hidden away? The answer came from a declassified memo discovered in the National Archives by researchers working on this investigation. The memo, dated June 1962, was marked secret, restricted to authorized personnel. It came from the Office of the Secretary of the Navy and addressed the Preservation Project for Special Naval Vessel USS Alabama. The memo authorized certain structural modifications designed to preserve evidence of advanced combat technology systems deployed during the Pacific Campaign. Essentially, the Navy was retrofitting the Alabama with additional security features designed to conceal something. Something important enough to warrant a secret project. Something important enough to keep hidden for 6 decades. But the critical discovery came when researchers cross-referenced the physical evidence from the underwater scans with documents from the Office of Naval Intelligence Archives. In 1943, when the USS Alabama was at sea in the Pacific, she was equipped with an experimental fire control system developed by researchers in collaboration with the Navy's Bureau of Ordnance. This system was unlike anything else in existence at the time. It was an early prototype of what we would now recognize as a primitive form of artificial intelligence. Using mechanical computers and early electronic sensing equipment, the system could track multiple targets, simultaneously calculate trajectory adjustments for moving targets, and coordinate fire from all 9 main battery guns with a precision that was impossible for human operators to achieve. In other words, the USS Alabama had an automated combat system 80 years before such technology became standard military equipment. The performance records bear this out. In the Battle of the Philippine Sea in June 1944, the Alabama's gunfire accuracy was so remarkable that other ships in the task force requested copies of her targeting data. The Navy officially attributed this to superior crew training, but the real answer was the experimental fire control system. After the war, this technology was highly classified. The Navy couldn't acknowledge its existence because doing so would reveal the advanced nature of American military technology. But they also couldn't destroy the Alabama because the system was partially integrated into her whole structure itself. It was literally built into the ship at the component level. So they did the next best thing. They preserved her as a museum, keeping her intact, while slowly upgrading the seals and locks on the compartments that housed the classified equipment. By 1962, with the advancement of military technology, the old system was obsolete. The Navy then performed the retroactive modifications we see in the underwater scans. They added additional shielding, they sealed the chamber where the sensitive electronics had been stored, and they made sure that any future examination of the ship would find nothing but the official stories. But here's where the investigation takes an even darker turn. Because when researchers examined the technical specifications of the experimental fire control system more closely, they discovered something that fundamentally changes our understanding of American military technology development. The system was not invented by American researchers, or rather, it was but only partially. The core concept, the fundamental breakthrough that made the system possible, came from captured German research. After the fall of Nazi Germany, American military intelligence teams scoured German facilities and laboratories, looking for technological advantages. They found something extraordinary: preliminary research on automated targeting systems developed by German engineers. The Americans took this research, refined it, and created the fire control system that was installed on the USS Alabama. This is not speculation. This is documented in declassified intelligence reports now available through the Freedom of Information Act, but the implications of this technology transfer were enormous. Because if the Americans had working automated fire control systems in 1943, that meant they had a significant tactical advantage in naval combat. The Japanese, for all their technological sophistication, had no equivalent system. They relied on human observation and manual calculation for targeting. The Americans had a system that could predict targets' movements and adjust fire automatically. This explains why the USS Alabama had such remarkable accuracy. This explains why she suffered so few losses despite being in constant combat. And this explains why the Navy worked so hard to keep the technology secret even decades after the war. The sealed chamber discovered by the underwater drones contained the last remaining intact example of this system. All other examples had been destroyed or dismantled. But the Alabama system was left in place, with additional shielding installed to protect it from detection. The Navy couldn't destroy it because destroying it would have damaged the ship irreparably, and they couldn't acknowledge it because doing so would have required them to admit that American military technology had roots in German development, which would have been politically devastating in the post-war period. So they buried it, literally buried it beneath the waters of Mobile Bay, and they kept the ship as a museum, a carefully controlled monument where visitors could see the exterior while the real secrets remained sealed inside. But here's what the Navy didn't anticipate. Technology would advance to the point where what was hidden could be revealed. Advanced sonar, artificial intelligence analysis, and digital reconstruction could reveal what 60 years of physical locks and classified documents could not protect. The discovery of the Alabama sealed chamber raises profound questions about what else might be hidden. Not just on this ship, but across the entire U.S. How many other museum ships are hiding classified systems? How many other historic vessels are being kept intact not for the public good, but to conceal military secrets? The implications extend beyond just technology. They challenge our understanding of how military institutions manage historical narrative. The USS Alabama was marketed to the public as a symbol of American heroism, a monument to the courage of the sailors who served on her. That story is true, but it's not the complete story. The complete story includes the fact that the ship's remarkable combat record was achieved, in part, through technology so advanced that the military spent decades keeping it secret. The complete story includes the fact that this technology came, in its genesis, from defeated enemies whose research American scientists studied and improved upon. The complete story includes the fact that the Navy spent resources and effort, decades after the war, to conceal evidence of this technology rather than preserve it openly for historical understanding. In many ways, the USS Alabama is a perfect metaphor for post-war American military history itself, a gleaming exterior that tells one story while the real complexities, the technological achievements, and the morally ambiguous decisions remain hidden beneath the surface, sealed away, waiting for technology advanced enough to reveal them. The USS Alabama still sits in Mobile Bay, still welcomes thousands of visitors every year, still stands as a symbol of American naval power. But now, for the first time, we know that there is more to this ship than what the public has been allowed to see. The underwater drones have returned to the surface. Their data has been collected and analyzed, the sealed chamber has been documented, and once again, historians face a choice. Do they integrate this new knowledge into the public narrative? Do they open the chamber and allow researchers full access to the technology inside? Or do they follow the path of the Navy of 1960 and seal the new information away, protecting the comfortable fiction that we already know everything about this ship? The truth about the USS Alabama is no longer hidden from those who know how to look. But how many people are actually looking? And what other secrets might be waiting beneath the waves in the deep places where we've hidden the inconvenient truths of our own history? The Alabama keeps her secrets still, but now we know where to look for them.